And your car, you're out driving around right now, there's a lot of juice in your car. Your car needs all kinds of different juices to make it run right. We're not talking about
Apple
apples
juice,
and
orange
tomato
juice,
or
vodka juice.
Yeah, none of that stuff. None of the clamatos or or anything like that. But I used to tease people about juice. They'd say, "Oh, it's got juice." What kind of juice is in that wire? We're talking about voltage.
Right.
But we're not talking about voltage today. We're talking about the juice is in the motor oil, the transmission, the coolant, and there's cars got several other juices in them.
Right.
And they all need to be maintained at some point. But bad maintenance is worse than no maintenance at all, oftentimes.
Yes, it is.
And we see things happen on a regular basis. Dave, I know you had one this week with a transmission issue, and it goes back to the juice. So
yeah, we had a 2008, I believe, Jeep Compass with roughly 80,000 miles on it in our shop. And they came to us. The guy had this weird sensation when he was going 70 miles an hour. So John got in the car with him, and they literally had to drive it 20 minutes before this weird sensation showed up. And John scratched his head. He goes, all right. So customer left, and we drove this car. By the time we actually got this thing all done and out the door, 138 miles to get this car fixed.
You know what's funny? At 138 miles going down I-10 is 2 hours.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I drove it. Another guy drove it. We had one guy, hey, go drive it for 20 miles and then come back. I'm going to jump in the car while it's moving so I can catch it in the, in the act of acting up. And so that's what we did. And at the end of the day, what we found out, we tracked it back down to the last shop that serviced the transmission. And what they did, this has a CVT transmission in it. The fluid is very specific. And this other shop had used a Fitz-all CVT fluid, and we're not even sure that was even that.
Well, yeah, because I've never heard of a Fitz-all. And when we say Fitz-all, that's one flavor to cover multiple requests or universal. I've never heard of a universal CVT fluid. Now there are some quote universal regular transmission fluids that in some cases are okay. We may differ on that a little bit, but yeah. So it sounds to me like maybe this is just a kid checking at the tire shop, checking, hey, he needs transmission fluid. And the guy sells a transmission service, but he never thinks to check is it a CVT?
What ended up happening, the other shop begrudgingly stepped up to pay the bill to fix this guy's car because we had to service it out now with the right fluid, and we had to run 20 quarts through it just to get all the old stuff out. But when they put the wrong fluid in a transmission, it creates all these really weird, deals that are hard to diagnose. I had to say, hey, you're gonna have to spend this money to service this transmission, and it might not work. Because, I don't know, did we damage the transmission already? That becomes the question by putting the wrong fluid in it. And they may very well have. And, the symptom cleared up after we serviced it, but 5,000 miles from now, 10,000 miles from now, is that transmission going to have an issue prematurely?
Well, yeah. Do we cause we don't know what we don't know, so to speak.
No.
And is there premature failure or something happening in that transmission because of the wrong fluid? And I got to tell you, this, whether it's transmission fluid, motor oil, coolant, those are probably the three most important.
Yeah, top tier right there.
You can't really screw up power steering fluid too much, although, if you put normal, I don't even know if there's anything normal anymore. If you put normal power steering fluid regular into a Honda, it's going to leak. So you've got to do that. Now, so there is special Honda power steering fluid that you want to use with Honda and Acura.
And we said it before on the show, are you over-serviced but underserved? Now, this guy went into this shop just for his regular maintenance, and they said, oh, you need a transmission service. So they recommended a transmission service to him. He went in there without a transmission problem. He left with a transmission problem. He said, well, I noticed something was different, and it was the guy doesn't drive the car a ton, being a 2008 with only 80,000 miles on it. So it kind of took him a little while, and you had to drive the car 20 minutes before a symptom would show up. So he didn't see it, and I bring...
Yeah, it takes a while to even to appear for him. I got it.
So, at the shop, if you come on my shop and I give you a tour of my shop, which I do all the time because I love giving tours, I walk you past my wall of transmission fluid and then my wall of coolant and then my wall of engine oil. And I tell people, hey, listen, I stock 32 flavors of transmission fluid, and that's an under-exaggeration because it's more like 45 now at this point. Every model year they add another one, and I got to keep track of it. And I got a whole spreadsheet for it because I'm OCD. But to keep track of all that stuff. But, even engine oil, I got to... the list of engine oil that I stock. When I first started changing oil on cars, we had 1030.
That was it.
That was all we had.
And if you worked on German cars, maybe you did 2050, 25 years ago or something like that.
Yeah, but that was the one oil, so you almost couldn't put the wrong oil in the car. Now, I'm going to tell you something about, some of the coupon oil change type things. Listen, they're not paying a top tech necessarily to do that job. They're kind of paying the young kid that may be out of school or never went to school. He's doing the oil change because if they got to hit that price point of, $14 or $19 or whatever they're baiting you in the door with, and so. Is he going to put the right oil in your car? Is he going to take the time to look it up? There are differences, and you can, damage a car by not putting the right fluid in it.
Yeah, for example, I mean, you take, the coupon, and we don't see it as much, but maybe you go in for the price point oil change. And, hey, maybe you're not just coupon shopping. Maybe if they told you it was $5 more, you're willing to do it. You know what I mean? You're going to supersize or get the right thing because you can't possibly put one coupon out for that covers everything. But where I see the problem is the shop says, well, no, just put the 1030 in or put in the whatever.
Close enough.
Yeah. It's oil, it's slippery, and it's kind of brown, and it all works the same. But it's not. I mean, you take a car that needs 530, or the other thing is, when this Dexos oil, that's the GM oil that they came out with several years ago, it was more expensive. It's come down in price now that it's more common, and other people have gotten the certifications. It's not quote special anymore. It's kind of standard. But people would be shocked when they come in, they had a $65 oil change, and they'd say, no, just put the other oil in. If you're doing that, you're ruining your car.
Yes.
You can go look right in the mirror and point to yourself and go, I'm ruining my car.
Right.
So when you're crying about it in 4 or 5 years, just then you remember, hopefully have it you saved on your phone, I'm ruining my car.
I had a guy, we were doing a timing cover. It was a GM front-wheel drive product, a vehicle that would take Dexos oil, and we're doing the timing cover, so we got the valve covers off, and we're pulling everything apart, and you're looking at the cams, and they have weird wear. This car only has 100,000 miles on it. Well, guess what? He got one of those deals where a kid knocked on his door, said, hey, we're raising money for the team, which... absolutely support the kid. I'm not saying don't, but now he's got this stack of coupons. He's got like 20 coupons for these oil changes for whatever price he paid for it. And guess what? They've been blowing just the conventional oil in there for the last 100,000 miles because he buys one every season or whatever it is. Yeah. And now, I didn't have the heart to tell him. I said, well, there's some weird wear on the cams, it's going to get expensive here for you, but you got to start servicing these cars right. So there's something you take away from this. Don't be ignorant when it comes to the oil or the transmission fluid that goes into your car. You can open up your owner's manual, and there it is right there. This is the weight. Some people, if they got something that's close and they're putting it in there anyway, not really the right shop to be at. Oh, yeah, they all work,
Yeah.
They're very specific. The modern car is very complicated.
Hey, I'm going to work on this power outlet. Is the switch off? Oh, yeah, pretty close. No, it doesn't. It doesn't go like that. Pretty close. Your close counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. Other than that, you need to be pretty accurate with
what I forget what movie it was. 210, 220. They're all the same.
Fletcher, one of those.
Mr. Mom, right? The vacuum cleaner.
Oh yeah. But and then the other one is for those of you who are going out and getting a new car, or maybe you're buying a used car. We talk about under-servicing, over-servicing. We need to think about this too. One thing you might be shocked of, I'm going to go buy a new Volkswagen. Hey, go for it. I love them. But you know what? The oil changes are a little bit more than your Toyota. Well, I can't even say that anymore because now all the Toyotas require 020 synthetic.
Yep.
But even not all your synthetic oils are the same. That Mobile One that you pull off the shelf may just not be the right specification for your new or even 5-year-old BMW. You've got to have the BMW specification or the Volkswagen or the Porsche or whatever it is. I mean, I've got 3 or 4 of those in my shop, and we still have to order oil out. Plus, we have your 020s and your 530s and the 520 and
hey, and just because you're going to the dealership doesn't mean you're getting the right oil in your car either. There's a whole chain of dealerships owned by one big conglomerate thing, and they sit there and they pump the wrong transmission fluid in every car that comes in because they're a big buyer and they own their own little oil company, and so they pump the wrong stuff into every car. When I say wrong stuff, it'll work pretty much, but it can cause some issues. So.
Well, and yours probably, yeah, exactly. So, well, it's just funny how it goes. But then back to the maintenance, over maintaining. If you've got a newer car that's telling you it's okay to go 10,000 or 20, 15,000 miles on an oil change, that I think you're under servicing your car there.
Right.
You know, and if they're free, fine. Let them do the first floor for free, but let's cut it in half. Because what we see on these cars that have been allowed to go a long time in their oil changes, that's very fine for the infancy of the car. But then you create this habit that you're now into, and when that car's more mature and it's 60 and 70,000 miles, you've got this habit, you're not changing the oil right.